Hello, and welcome to my channel. It's the Network Specialist. Please like this video, subscribe to my channel, and hit that notification bell so that you know each and every time I upload a video. Everything said in this video is allegedly and in my very own opinion and used for entertainment purposes only. Now, today I will be doing a recap on the Braxtons Season 1, Episode 5. Happy birthday, Traci. Now, let's get into it. So, the first scene kind of picked up from where Tawanda and the producers left off, speaking about Kevin Sr. being on the show, and Tawanda wanted to make it clear that this platform is not for people who didn't honor her sister Tracy's wishes. Okay, so that's pretty much where this episode started out. And she also wanted to clear things up, especially the story about what happened when Tracy got pregnant with Kevin Jr. and was not signed to the record deal because, back in the 90s, as a female artist, they had to have an image where every woman wanted to be like them and every man wanted to be with them. Okay. And she did say, "Hey, love, seen her. Thank you so much for being here, sis." So she did say that initially when they left to, when they signed the contract or whatever, she didn't go that time. But Tracy did go on to, have a solo career and she did very well. And she also mentioned that Trina actually got pregnant first. Now, I know we don't hear about that a lot, but I do know that Trina does have a son that looks like, he's a lot older than Kevin Jr. So maybe at the time that she got pregnant, it wasn't during the time when they signed the contract. So she was actually able to go. And so after that, we move on to Tamar, in the studio working on new music. And, she talked about how this album was inspired by Tracy. And during, her scene, Tamar did a FaceTime call with her ex, Vince, and her and Vince seemed to be in a good place. Vince still supports her music career and gives feedback and advice. And they also seem to co parent their son Logan very well. And sometimes I wish she would just get back with Vince. Now, I'm not always for spinning the block, but for some people, it just makes sense. Like, I was very happy to see Ashanti reunite with Nelly because I love them both. So that was, a situation where I was happy that she spent the block. So Tamar really needs someone who gets her. And for me, Vince just might be that person. I could be wrong because they did have a toxic relationship. But at the end of the day, I think a lot of that, you know, was initiated by Tamar. So now that she's been in therapy and I feel like she has grown a lot, she still have her moments, but I think that Vince would definitely be able to handle her. So Tamar, Trina, and Tawanda and Miss Evelyn meets up for dinner. And Tawanda shares with Tamar that they went to see Kevin Jr. And she was telling her how they just wanted to go and check up on him and make sure that he knew that the family would be there to support him no matter what. And apparently, Miss Evelyn already knew, but for some reason, Tamar didn't know till after the fact. And just watching this family, it just seems like they leave Tamar out of a lot of the pertinent situations going on in the family. I don't know why, but that just seems to be the case. Nevertheless, she expresses how Kevin Jr. is fighting for his wife, he's fighting for his marriage, and his dad seems to think that Tracy wasn't in her right mind when she wrote up her will. So they just wanted to go do a welfare check to make sure that he knew that he would, that he has their support at the end of the day. And Tamar felt a little uncomfortable talking about, this subject in front of her mom because obviously there is nothing worse than losing a child. And, she said, of course, that's our sister, but that was her child. So I don't think that we should be having these conversations in front of our mom. She didn't seem too bothered by the conversation, but that's just how Tamar felt. But Miss Evelyn did add that Tracy knew exactly what she was doing. And she also knew that her son was going to get some pushback because Tracy and Miss E had a conversation about that whole situation about the dad and everything like that. And that so she knew that he would give her son some pushback. But Miss E asked Tracy if she thought that Kevin Jr. was strong enough to fight against his father, and Tracy told her that this will give him some balls. So, and that her son has to grow up when it comes to his dad. So she knew that he would get some pushback from his dad, but she also felt like that, he needed to get some balls and he needed to be able to stand up to his dad. So that bit of information does provide a little insight to how Tracy felt at the time she wrote her will. A lot of people were kind of thinking like, you know, did she really know what she was doing? Because her son, Kevin Jr., seems to be a little timid, and that's a lot of responsibility on such a young man. But she felt like that's what she needed to do. So at the time, that was the best decision for her. So in the next scene, Trina and Vaughn and her two sons spent some family time at an axe throwing venue, and the conversation came up about having kids. And both of Tracy's sons revealed that they don't want kids, which was kind of shocking. Like at some point, everybody wants to be a grandma. Every woman wants to be a grandma. So, that was kind of shocking that both of her sons don't want any kids. But a lot of these millennials and younger kids, they just don't want kids. Kids are expensive, they're a lot of work. So a lot of, young people are opting out, from having kids. And so during the conversation, Vaughn insinuated that they get a vasectomy and take the decision out of their partner's hands. And I thought that was a little strange, for him to say that because at the end of the day, that should be a decision that they make with their partner. Now, one of Tracy's sons is married, and then the other son just has a girlfriend. He's not married yet. So, Vaughn, I agree with Trina. You crossed the line, and that was not your place. Thanks, but no thanks. Like, don't be over there telling my kids that they need to get a vasectomy when I want grandkids. Like, Vaughn seems to always overstep his boundaries, but hey, that's Trina, man. She love him, but to me, he seems to be a little bit controlling. So in the next scene, Tawanda called Kevin Jr. and said, your mom's birthday is coming up. And she wanted to surprise everyone by flying Kevin Jr. into Georgia to be there for a small celebration in honor of Tracy's birthday. And he agreed that he would love to come. And she made him promise that he wouldn't tell anybody and it was just their secret. Hey, Michaela. Thank you so much for being here. And she said Vince is in a new relationship. Oh, really? Okay. Didn't know that. Thanks for that information, Michaela. And so the next scene was the actual birthday celebration for Tracy. And this scene was, for me, the best part of the episode. It made my heart smile to see how happy everyone was, especially when Tawanda surprised them all, flying in Kevin Jr. and especially Miss Evelyn. She was so happy to see Kevin Jr. So that was exciting to see that. And, everybody was there. Trina's sons were there. Tawanda's kids was there. One of Tracy's best friends, of course, Trina, Tamar, Tawanda, Miss Evelyn, and just a lot of people came to support Tracy's birthday celebration. Of course, the Tony wasn't there. She was somewhere where she couldn't be there. She was somewhere working, and the brother wasn't able to make it, and the father wasn't there as well. So, as usual, Tamar had to steal some of Tracy's spotlight by revealing that no one told her that Tracy was sick. And, she came to find out um, that she told everyone else but her and made them promise not to tell her a little bit later. And she told them that she would be the one to tell Tamar that she was sick or whatever the case may be. So, Tamar definitely felt some kind of way about that because, had she known that Tracy was sick, she would have spent a lot more time with her, before she actually passed away. However, the celebration was a success. They laughed, they danced, they ate crabs, which is, Tracy loves crabs, so that's why they decided, to have crabs for her birthday celebration. They took pictures, and surprisingly, everybody got along, and there was no major drama. And this is what I like to see, everyone getting along, because we all know that when this family gets together, there is usually a lot of drama, and the sisters are always, going head to head every time they get together due to lack of communication. And for the previews for next week, Carlos King is going to be featured in the next episode, unfortunately. So I was very surprised to see that. But we all know he wants to be in the spotlight instead of just being behind the scenes, being a producer. For whatever reason, he does want to be in the spotlight. Okay. So I wanted to play a video of Kevin Sr. What he said in this video made a lot of sense, and it kind of gave some insight into his and Tamar's relationship. And then I also seen another video on Tink Marche's page. And guys, I would have showed that video as well, but it is kind of long. So if you would like to watch it, you would have to go to her channel because he did a 28-minute video, and she does have that entire video on her page. Again, shout out to Tink Marche. But in the meantime, I do have this video that I want to share and speak a little bit about this video at the end. So give me 1 second while I pull that up. And guys, let me know if you can see this video.
Right? If you want to be the man in the situation, you're not gonna want an alpha female, because how are you gonna lead an alpha female? That's not gonna work.
I disagree.
You don't think so?
I disagree. I don't think it'll be a power struggle. I think you two will come together. That's what I say. That communication is so important. You will learn how to cope within that. Say, for example, if you're an alpha female, you still understand because y'all done had dialogues. Do not embarrass me in public. If you gotta holler at me later. But you still got your stats. You still moving. My wife said something to me that I would never forget. She said, as I was growing up, I never saw my mother and father make up. She said, I didn't know how to do that because I'd never seen from which I came demonstrate that. So there were breakdowns as life went on. And then they were groomed to be this family, and they turned into a very good worldly figure, but the other things didn't go with it. Communication. They knew how to communicate amongst each other. So the ground floor of us is a key to our existence from which we came. And so to me, with that, it's important to have good communication, build that. And it's constant. It's constant.
Because I've heard so-called alpha men say they want an alpha female, but I don't think they realize what they're asking for. Because if they really understood what an alpha female was, they wouldn't. That's not what they want, right? If you want to be the man in the situation, you're not gonna want an alpha female, because how are you gonna lead an alpha female?
I
That's not
disagree.
gonna work.
I disagree.
You don't think so?
I disagree. I don't think it'll be a power struggle. I think you two will come together. That's what I say, that communication is so important. You will learn how to cope within that. Say, for example, if you're an alpha female, you still understand because y'all done had dialogues. Do not embarrass me in public. If you got to holler at me later. But you still got your stats. You still moving. My wife said something to me that I would never forget. She said, as I was growing up, I never saw my mother and father make up. She said, I didn't know how to do that because I'd never seen from which I came demonstrate that. So there were breakdowns as life went on. And then they were groomed to be this family, you know, and they turned into a very good worldly figure, but the other things didn't go with it. Communication. They knew how to communicate amongst each other. So the ground floor of us is a key to our existence from which we came. And so to me, with that, it's important to have good communication, build that. And it's constant. It's constant.
Because I've heard alpha so-called.
So I'll stop sharing that. So what I feel about that, and you know, as far as myself, I feel like I'm an alpha female. And with me and my ex, we had that same understanding. So I totally get where he's coming from. Like we had conversations like if we ever have a disagreement in public, like we would never have a disagreement or argument in public. We would talk about it later on when we get home, but we would never argue in front of people, even if we had a disagreement at home while the kids were there. We would never argue in front of the kids. We would, if we had to, we would get in the car, go to a park, whatever the case may be, but we definitely would not argue in front of the kids. And then sometimes you know, being parents, you have disagreements when it comes to the kids. And Love Seen Heard says, I agree with that. Yeah. So as a parent, if you disagree, you know, with your mate when it comes to the kids, you cannot let your kids see you disagree. You always have to be on the same page. So I can see what Kevin is saying. Yeah, my wife was an alpha female and you know whatever the case may be, and that doesn't make me less of a man having or feeling some kind of way because my wife is an alpha female, because me and my wife, we have an understanding. And he also talked about the fact that, you know, Traci shared with him that she never seen her family, her, you know, parents make up. So it seems like they might have had a very toxic relationship behind the scenes. Of course, when they were out in the public, because, you know, he was a pastor, it looked like they had everything together, but behind the scenes, they had a toxic relationship, which is why their kids, for the most part, have a, you know, toxicity every time they get together. So I'm glad he pointed that out because a lot of people feel like that the girls, meaning the Braxton sisters, got their toxicity from their mom. And, you know, she does seem like, you know, she has a bad attitude sometimes. So I can definitely see that. And the husband seems like he's a little bit more laid back or whatever the case may be. And unfortunately, that's why, probably why the marriage didn't last. And Love Seen Heard said he was telling the truth about the family too, because they still act like that. Exactly. They're very toxic. And as much as Tamar says that, you know, she's done the work and, you know, she says it's always going to be a work in process and she's always going to need therapy, she always turns right around and does something just way out there. Like, you know, even after, you know, she went viral for calling out, you know, her ex-husband from what she says, because none of us knew that she was married, but apparently her and JR got married, you know, and then he came out and said that behind the scenes, Tamar was calling him and begging him to get back with her. And I'm like, girl, like, what is it going to take for you to see that this man doesn't want you? So apparently she doesn't like being alone, and she just, for whatever reason, she needs a man in her life. So she's really out there making herself look really bad, chasing behind this man who doesn't want her, you know. So as much as we love those Braxton sisters, it does seem like they all need therapy. And like, I'm not sure if it stems from the relationship that their mother and father had, but at some point, they need to learn how to communicate better, because it seems like that's the main problem that they have, is just lack of communication. And they're always at odds with each other. Like, Trina called Tamar out by saying that before Traci passed, that they weren't speaking and that they were in a bad place. So that's the reason why Tamar didn't want to, I'm sorry, Traci didn't want to tell Tamar that she was sick, is because they had gotten to a disagreement, and they really weren't on that good of terms. And then now it seems like Tawanda and Tamar are beefing all the time, and they really don't communicate, like most sisters do. And they're just always in some type of beef, just for lack of communication. So this episode was kind of lackluster. I will agree. I will say that. And the best thing about this past episode was the birthday party, because they were all getting along. They had a good time. They were dancing. They took a lot of pictures. So that was pretty much the best part of this episode. Hopefully, the next episode will be better. But that's pretty much all that happened, in this episode. So, guys, that's pretty much going to be all for this video, unless you have some questions. Love Seen Heard, did you ever get a chance to watch it? I know you said that you were going to try to catch up. I know it's a lot going on other shows, but did you get a chance to watch the show, Love Seen Heard? Hey, kicking it with Courtney. Thank you so much for being here. I didn't get your notifications either, Courtney. I just usually set my reminder, and that's how I get yours. I don't know why YouTube is always tripping on those notifications, but I don't get yours either. But good thing for you, you have a set time when you go live every day, and I just don't. But thank you so much for being here. So, Courtney, have you had the chance to watch the show yet, or are you still kind of on the fence about watching the Braxtons? Yes, please hit the bell again. Because I went back and checked to make sure that I had my notifications on, and I did, but I still don't get the notifications. And Dee Star said, no, what time does it come on? It comes on, I want to say, at 9 o'clock on Fridays. But again, if you have that streaming platform, you can just watch it whenever. But I do think it premieres at 9 o'clock on Friday. So it will be coming on tonight. So I will get the new episode tonight. And Courtney says, no, I'm not on the fence, but I haven't had watched it yet. So she hasn't watched it yet. Um, yeah, there's a lot of things going on right now. So I guess the Braxtons is just kind of on the back burner. But I will definitely be tuned in tonight. And I don't know if you guys heard me earlier, but Carlos King is going to make an appearance on tonight's episode. And it looks like he's going to be interviewing Tamar. So maybe JR got wind of that, and that's why he wanted to kind of throw CK up under the bus, because apparently Tamar and Carlos King is very close. I mean, I didn't really know that until JR mentioned it, but it appears that they're good friends. And Courtney said, it comes on tonight. I'll watch for real. I have nothing to do tonight. Okay, okay. So yes, it comes on tonight, and I don't usually review it right away, because I like to wait till closer to the new episode is going to come on. So that way, when I do my recaps, I can let people know that it's either coming on tomorrow, tonight, whatever the case may be, and hopefully they'll remember to watch it. Yes, Courtney. I think you're saying what because Carlos King is going to be on the episode. Yes, he does not want to be behind the scenes as producer for whatever reason. He wants to be in the spotlight. So yes, he is going to make an appearance on tonight's episode. So tonight will be a good chance to watch because you will see, the ops on the show tonight. And Courtney also said, I can see the two of them being friends. Yes, I can see that as well because they both like to be in the spotlight. No matter what the situation is, they want to be in the spotlight. And Didi Star said, okay, I need to watch tonight too. Yes, watch tonight, Didi. And Courtney says he will make a show about himself soon. Yes, for whatever reason, like the producer role just doesn't do it for Carlos King. He wants to be in front of the camera. And I think when he went out on these tours that he was going to be doing, interviewing these celebrities or whatever the case may be, that was supposed to be his time to shine, but that didn't go over so well because the only show that had a packed house was the first one he did with Melody Cherie. After that, like he didn't get a good turnout. And Didi said, yeah, I knew they were friends, but it is crazy that he will make an appearance. Yes. And you'll notice when you watch the Braxtons that most of Tamar's scenes are filmed away from the family. Yes, of course, she went to her sister's birthday celebration, or whatever the case may be. But it seems like she just isn't close with her sisters. She's the last one to get the family information. Like, they always leave Tamar in the dark. And I think it's because at some point she kind of separated herself from the family and they just kind of left it that way. So whenever she wants to show up, it's all good. But for the most part, Trina and Tawanda are really close. They both live in Georgia. And, Tony, she's always on tour, traveling, doing her own thing. So she chimes in when she has the time, but she's pretty busy. And Courtney says, what happened to that tour? You mean the one with Cedric the Entertainer? Because as far as I know, that was going down, but I haven't heard anything else about it. And she said Tamar was just cursing them out about JR and look what happened. Yes, because I believe that JR married her because he wanted to be on the show. And once he found out that he wasn't going to be able to be on the show, then that's why he hurried up and got a divorce if they were even married. Because you have to be careful about marrying attorneys because at the end of the day, they know so much about that field that you don't know, and they can take you for everything you got, or they can just pull the wool over your eyes and you won't know the difference. But yes, I need to find out about Tony's show with Said the Entertainer because I thought it would have happened by now, but I haven't heard anything about it in Vegas. Oh, CK tour. I think that tour ended because he wasn't having a good outcome. Like nobody was showing up. Like I said, the first one with, Mel was a hit, but after that, you know, I don't think it was successful. So I think he put a stop to it. And Courtney said they only lasted 40 something days, right? It was very short, but nobody has been able, and not saying that they can't be found, but I haven't seen any paperwork to prove that she was even married. And keep in mind, Tamar is the only one that said they were married. JR never actually came out of his mouth and said that Tamar was his wife. So I feel like he played Tamar. Maybe he showed her some fake documents. I don't know because it seems like Tamar is the only one that knew that she was married. So I don't know. That's kind of that guy has just been playing Tamar from the beginning, and I really don't feel like he loved her, and I just feel like he just wasn't into Tamar, and it just seems like she loves him more than he loves her at the end of the day and they were just really toxic together. So I just hope that she's done with JR and she moves on and find her happy place. And Courtney also said Kempire had the docs, I think, or one of those legal ladies had the docs. Really? So somebody actually had the documentation of Tamar and JR being married? Hmm. Because everybody was just like, oh, well, I didn't know they were married. So I'd like to see that because JR always refers to Tamar as his ex, but he never really says like my ex-wife or anything like that. So I don't believe that he wants people to know that he married Tamar. And I believe he hurried up and married Tamar when he found out that the Braxtons was coming back. And that's probably why she was at odds with her family because she wanted him to be on the show and they didn't want him on the show. Okay, and Courtney says, yes, I'll send it to you. I saw it, but can't remember the page right off. Yes, but one thing I am happy about, even though they won't allow Kevin Sr. to be on the show, he is finding a platform so that he can speak his truth. So he is coming out and telling his truth. And he did say that he was supposed to be on the show, but he did get a call and they said that, the Braxton sisters did not want him on the show. So, but he feels like, everybody needs to be able to eat. So he should be allowed to be on the show. But Tawanda made it very clear that up under no circumstances will Kevin Sr. be on that show. And one thing I don't like is that every time, especially Tawanda, I'm gonna have to call her out. Every time she's having a conversation with Kevin Jr. or about Kevin Jr., she always has to say something about his court case, him going to jail, him having to go to court, like she's not willing to tell much about her own business, but just like some of the people on Love and Marriage Huntsville, they want to speak up everybody else's business, but keep their business to themselves. So she's always mentioning his personal business, but we don't know anything about Tawanda. Like I said on a previous slide, I don't know what her husband does for a living. I don't even know if they have a job, but she always want to talk about everybody else, but we know nothing about her in her storyline. And Dee Dee Star said, are they scared that he will share some dirt on them? That's what it is. And that's what a lot of people believe that it is. And, they shouldn't be allowed to speak of him if he's not able to come on and speak his truth, you know. But that's exactly what Tawanda is doing. And she's also insinuating that Kevin Sr. wasn't there for Traci before she passed away. So, that's a strong allegation, especially if it's not true. I don't know if it's true, but if you're going to make those type of statements, you need to let that man at least come on there so that he can speak his own truth. And Didi Star said Tawanda was scamming a little while ago, allegedly. Really? Now I know she had to file for bankruptcy, but I didn't hear anything about her scamming. Oh my God. And I just find it very strange that she's been with this man for so long. And even on the Braxton family values, he said that he was going to ask her to marry him. And to this day, they still aren't married. So I don't know what he's waiting on. And it just makes me feel like he doesn't want to marry Tawanda at the end of the day. So, I don't know about this show, and unless these people come up with some new storylines, I just don't see what they're going to be talking about in the future. Because the only thing that Tamar has to bring is drama, but I don't think she's going to let that display, especially after what happened on the last show and when she went through that whole thing where she wanted to commit, I don't have to say the word. I'm pretty sure you guys know what I'm talking about. And everything she went through with the Braxton family values. But I mean, unless Tony is gonna show herself being on tour in Vegas. Like, I don't really know what they have to talk about because at this point, it seems like their life is starting to be pretty boring right now. So I guess we'll have to wait and see. Again, I do like the show just because it is real life, and it's not really made up storylines. They may hide a little bit of their true story, but it's still their real lives. And